So when I first started podcasting back in July 2019, the interview format was like the go-to. It was like the way to do it. There were a few people that were doing different things like solo interviews. And back then I thought, well, why would you not just do interviews all the time? Like you can share and get more visibility on your podcast by way of the guest that you just had on. But the more I do it, the more I realize there's probably some merit to that doing a solo episode. So I'll just walk through a few of these different formats, ones that I've noticed, ones that are kind of experimental, but then give kind of the pros and cons of each. So if you're doing an interview style podcast, that is good. You can actually get more people aware of your podcast. You can get them to share. If you make it easy for them to share some micro content on their social media profiles, you have a higher likelihood of getting people to come closer to you, wanting to listen to the episode, wanting to find out more about the podcast as a whole. The con obviously is, well, if that's all you do, then your schedule is really at the behest of the guests that you have on. So if somebody's not available to guest on your show for 3 months, it's like, well, gotta wait 3 months to have that particular person on my show. To get around that, you can do a solo episode. Now, these are a little like, I'll say it can feel like you're going commando, like I'm just over here recording and talking to myself. Yeah,
I've
kind of.
seen some that are great and some that feel kind of hokey.
Yeah, they do. They do kind of feel hokey. And so with the hokier ones, Roderick, I think like when I see them, it's like, okay, listen to that, but what was the point of that? Like, I mean, I guess it was entertaining, but I didn't really get anything out of it. Like, what makes a solo episode hokey to you? Like, when was the last time you heard one? Hopefully, not one of mine.
No, not yours. What I hear is what I've heard is folks that literally don't make it conversational and it feels more like a presentation and they're talking at you versus really making you feel like you're engaged and it's mutually equitable.
Yeah, yeah. So for the solo episodes, you mean?
Yeah, solo.
Yeah, interesting. How do you make like it? That is a good distinction because there is a difference between having like a simulated conversation and having something where it's like, okay, we both know going into this that this is a one-way thing. I'm sharing information with you. Take notes, replay again, watch it again if you need to, but there's no there's no assumption that there's going to be a conversational feel to it. What are some things? And I'm curious because now you got my brain juice going. How do you make a solo episode sound more conversational on purpose? Like, how do you do that?
Christina, do you want to jump in?
Once I find the unmute button.
I was like, yeah,
Actually,
she's getting
yeah,
ready to go. Yeah,
I know. One of the things is that, well, I just kind of do it naturally because I've been a teacher, right? So I will, as I'm presenting or whatever, I ask questions even though there's nobody there, right? And you can even go even further and pretend there's somebody there, like, oh yeah, put this down in the chat or whatever if you want to respond, kind of thing. But yeah, just asking questions and giving them time to pause and think. So instead of the go, 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 go with the presentation, it's that pause. It's like let them kind of engage and think about what you've talked about a little bit. I think that's what I would do.
yeah, yeah. Including pauses is a really helpful thing, and I find too, just with public speaking, even when if I'm up there just with the factoids and stuff, if I put a little pause in there, it mentally relieves a lot of pressure. Like if I feel like I'm confident enough that I can actually stop talking for a little bit and allow them to be like, dang, he's spitting fire. Like that's probably a trick that they teach you in the NSA, right, Roderick? The speakers one, not the
Touche.
government one.
In Speak Up, absolutely. It's actually one of the things we do talk about.
Yeah,
How do you engage your audience, especially when you're talking virtually,
yeah,
when there is no audience? And it's hard for all of us. And I mean, I've been speaking for 30 years now, and I just had to record a quick promo on my phone. And I realized that I went into presentation mode. It was like, and I didn't wasn't the goal of it, but it's hard to your point for it to sound like you're talking to someone when there's nobody in front of you. I think a good thing is turn your camera off because you don't feel like you're just looking and talking at yourself, right?
Yep.
That's one of the ways that I would think that, you just kind of go click. All right, who am I talking to? Now imagine I'm talking to you two instead of talking to me.
I like that. That's a good dang. I was ready to like dispense some awesomeness today, and I'm learning more
That's my
today than
one
I
thing for the
expected.
day. I'm done now.
You're done.
Just
Now don't go take a
come
nap
on.
on me. Like you're
I got
doing
nothing
great.
else. I
You
got
got
nothing.
just get some coffee, pour it in your tear ducts, and keep
Yeah.
your eyeballs open.
Me, Starbucks, and a latte. I'm done.
There you
That's
go.
it.
I love it. I love it. That is a good tactic though, because anything that kind of overcomes that brain hack of, oh my goodness, am I turning into a schizo? Like I'm talking to nobody. And to have to like spend brain cycles to get past that, anything that helps. I have to write that down. That's good. Um, so with with the solo episodes like that, I mean it is possible you do have full control of your schedule. You're not reliant on mutual availability. You know, if you have inspiration, you can just bang, throw up a recording and get it knocked out, publish it, you're done. But the con obviously is if you're gonna be sharing something like that, it's gonna be reliant more on your personal network. Now, one thing that I'm always kind of on a soapbox about these days is repurposing content, which I know I've talked about this on here before, and I do a lot of content about this. Is if you do a solo episode, I always recommend people immediately wrap some kind of a conversion funnel. Could be a lead funnel, could be a sales funnel, whatever it is, but have a place on your website, a known location that you can bring people to where they know right off the bat, okay, if I watch this, here's what I'm going to get out of it. Show them the thing, and then have a clear call to action after that. Usually to book a discovery call or to download a free, 8 steps to go from X to Y, whatever it is, some kind of a lead magnet. But after that, it's like, well, I did the solo episode, but now I can have that be out there as evergreen content, constantly bringing people to it, and that's worked well for me. Um, Something else that's worked well, I started experimenting with this a few months ago and was like, wow, this is actually really beneficial. Is a panel discussion. So it's like having an interview, having a guest on your show, but on steroids. I do panels. I usually do them four, like 4 people at a time. I've got one coming up next Monday. That's three. I'm co-hosting with somebody else, so it still counts as a total of five. But when I started having people on as panelists, then I said, oh, this is actually a way for me to multiply the number of folks that are coming into my network, because now as the facilitator, I'm able to set up a unique experience for the one-to-one, like I'm communicating individually with each panelist as a guest, highlighting their expertise on the show, but then I'm also setting up opportunities to combine every possible set of two, and I can ask a question of these two people and a question of these two people and a question of these two people, and they get to uniquely answer from their own individual perspectives, and it's a lot of
And that
fun.
that's the key.
Yeah.
Everybody, and I keep going back to that word, everybody makes this now a conversation.
Yes.
And it's not like talk, stop, talk, stop, talk, stop. Now everyone's like, hey, yeah, I agree. Let me double tap on that. Or, ooh, that's interesting. What about this perspective? And that to me just gives a whole different level of depth and breadth of the conversation.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it makes you want to be engaged because you feel like you're a part of that conversation.
yes, it does. Provides a lot of uniqueness too. It's like you're not going to find this anywhere else. Like there's nowhere else on the planet that has this combination of people responding to these things. Like the stuff you're going to learn here, you're not going to learn this on Coursera. Like it's right here, right now. and it
Yeah.
attracts people. Christina, you came off mute. What you got, girl?
Oh, it's just the same thing as that, when I do my summits, we do the individual speakers, but in the middle of the day, I have a panel discussion with some of those speakers. They come back in, and that event, that part of the day is so amazing, like Broderick was saying, because all of them get to chime in on the same question now. And yeah, the knowledge that comes out of that and perspectives is amazing.
It is. It is. Now, do you include like breakout rooms for yours? Like it's not it like they're the ones that are controlling the room. They get their own little group of people and they're able to like talk to them and it's you're just kind of like, hey, I'm out here, I'm not involved. Like, is that
I haven't yet. That's something I'm toying with for next year during the summer, having a space where the parents can go and sit in breakout rooms with the expert they want to talk to. That's something I'm toying with.
yeah. And that's something I was talking with a friend of mine just last Thursday because it's one of those I don't believe in coincidences type of things, but I've been wanting to get with him for a couple of weeks. And so when he basically spilled the tea with me, he's like, he's in the recruiting space and he said, I really want to do more executive recruiting and I want to get more people in because they don't want to be constantly running and gunning and doing sales and being on the campaign trail. And he shared all the stuff with me and like both of our eyes lit up because he knew I wanted to talk to him about like hosting virtual events, hosting in-person events, having something where it's like a podcast on steroids, but when you have like a group of 4 or 5 executives and you form a panel, but then you also give them each an opportunity to host a couple breakout rooms. Like they have 2 different topics that they'll talk about. Like let's say it's a half day event and they got 2 different topics they want to talk about. I said, hey, as soon as somebody decides they want to go into that breakout room, that means that person is a lead for that executive. That person is a lead 100%. Like why would they come to you if they weren't interested, right? They're not just, I guess I'll sign up for this guy, he looks like he's got an honest face. No, it's because they want to learn this particular thing from you. And both of us are just like, oh, he's like, dude, I'm out next week. He's like, can we please talk more about this like after next week? And I'm like, yes. So it's so much fun combining panels and combining the breakout rooms together is so powerful. Roderick, what's up?
It also breaks up kind of the monotony of being a multiple guest on different podcasts
Mm-hmm.
because you keep talking about the same things over and over, right? And
Right.
you're like, you got the points you got to hit and you know what's coming next. This way, it actually creates and pushes spontaneity as opposed to making it feel like it was canned.
Mm-hmm.
As you can do after you start doing so many different podcasts and they're asking you very similar questions. You're like, oh, I know what the next question is going to be.
Yeah. It's like, oh, wait, you skipped ahead on the script a little bit. So, well, there is something, there's another format that I started doing with one of my clients recently. And it's a little bit like a panel, but it's still just him. He's still the expert. I'm still the facilitator, but we're bringing in people specifically from his network and we're launching this. We're capping it at like 60 people. And we're saying, okay, you've got the network. Let's you and I do an interview together. And at the end, the people that are in attendance can also follow up and ask questions. But the fact is that people that know what the they're getting out of attending, they know right off the bat, hey, if I sign up for this, I'm gonna learn this, this, and this. And if they say yes to that, that means okay, they're a possible lead. So I send the information over to him so he can say, oh, I can add them into my database. They opted in. But we already know ahead of time that these people are interested in the topic and to get feedback from them in the Q&A portion, then he can refine how to have follow-up conversations. This person asked this question, it means that's what they're interested in. So when I have a follow-up conversation with them, it can be more targeted. So he's pretty excited. We got like 3 of them coming up that we're going to do this coming Wednesday and the Wednesdays after. So we're doing like a lunch and learn style thing. So from 11:30 to 12 noon is going to be open networking. It's optional. And then from noon to 1 is going to be the actual meat and potatoes of the event. But it's my first time doing something like that. But it seems like when you can invite somebody to, and I'm calling it a live cast, when you can invite somebody to a big group setting, it's not as scary. You got a group of other people that are kind of like they're passive observers, but they're gearing up for some good questions at the end, so we can get some market feedback. Have either of you done something like that or taken part in something like that? Like, what would that be called?
It sounds like a similar format as the TEDx talks,
Mhm.
right? Where you've got the audience that's engaged, and then when it's over, you get a chance to do your quick Q&A pieces.
Yeah,
So it's definitely a new direction to go. I like it.
yeah. Well, it's like a TEDx, but it's somebody else is up there on the dot with you asking questions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a TEDx with training wheels. Awesome. And then, have either of you ever listened into podcasts that are more of a documentary format? This is something I've been kind of interested in doing, but I suck at
Tell me
research.
more. It sounds interesting.
Yeah. Well, so the ones that I hear, especially on NPR, like I listen to NPR once in a while, and they've got some really good ones, like true crime ones are usually good for documentaries where you got to dig deep and find some crunchy information that's not in the mainstream. You've got to go and you've got to interview people and get to the root of the matter. I actually met somebody from Reddit years ago. Her name's Veronica Kieran. She really should be on one of these calls, and she's a podcast host as well. But she has a couple books. She did a compilation, like an anthology. She has one called Stories of Elders, and she actually went and talked with people that were members of the greatest generation. So they went through the Depression, they went through World War II, they came out scathed, but I mean, they came out stronger, right? I'm not going to say they were unscathed, but then she compiled all that into a book. But then the next one that she did was Stories of COVID. And that's back when, you know, meeting people in person was like illegal or whatever. So she had to do it virtually. And that was more of a podcast format. It was virtual, it was recorded. She did it over Zoom. And it's like, that is such a deep and rich thing. And I've been interested in this because it's really, really sticky. Like the research that you do to compile the documentary, to do like one episode, like 1 2 hour episode, or a series of smaller, like 6 episodes, it's going to be relevant for years, decades, for a while. Yeah, Christina's saying, looking like she's agreeing with me, even though she's on mute. It's okay. She's like, yeah, that's really good. Thumb up means good. But like, are there ones that you guys listen to that are along those lines? Like, do you ever listen to documentary style podcasts, or is that because I don't either? I'm hoping to live vicariously through one
I
of y'all.
haven't,
Yeah,
but because it feels like I'm listening to a book.
yeah,
Not my, I like the engagement because I'm usually walking or in the car or something, and I usually listen to podcasts for information and new thought leadership
yeah,
as opposed to the documentary piece.
yeah,
I'm sure there's an audience, no question,
yeah. There is. Well, and I think it
but you may have to do different voices and stuff though for it
may have to.
to
I'll get
keep
my
it
girls.
interesting.
I'll get my girls involved. They'll come up, especially our youngest. We can't show her anything anymore. Like we watched one of the Batman movies, and she's 9 years old, and as soon as we did, she instantly like put a blanket around her neck and she was like standing on all the furniture going, I'm Batman. And then she'd like run around and hide behind stuff and go, I'm Batman. And she's constantly making like sniper rifles out of Tinker Toys. And she's like, pew, pew, pew. I'm like, quit shooting me in the head. I'm like, if you're going to shoot, aim for center of mass, okay? Because you might miss. You got to aim.
Hello, work with her now.
I'm like, you got to go like this, and you got to make sure you got to go two to the chest, two to the head, and she's like, what? My wife is like, quit teaching her that. I'm like, hey, she's got to be ready.
Hey, she's gonna go to the range eventually, so you might as well you're just
we
kind of set the
we
foundation.
are we are. So we got a friend of mine who was like, hey, we got to go. Like, let's go bang bang. Let's go shoot. Bring the girls. And he thought my wife wouldn't be up for that, and she's like, well, I want to go. I'm like, I figured you would because she's the one that was like, I want to go hunting with you. I want to go shoot. I want to go do. I'm like, let's do it, babe. And he's like, I'm so surprised. He was gonna he was going to treat us to that, and he's like, Charlotte's probably not going to go for that. I'm like, yeah, she will, man. She's a country girl. She shoots.
And I
So
love that because, early on, safety, protocol, et cetera, you're going to have kids who are able to take care of themselves in a safe and efficient manner. So that, yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Well, I made sure early
It's
on, like
almost necessary these days, unfortunately, but
it is.
it's where
Well,
we are.
it is, but I made sure to let them know, like I'll bring all the guns down and I'll show it to them and I'll make sure they know good. Like, don't point this at anybody. All right. Don't don't look down the end of it. Just
Right.
practice as if it's loaded. But I make sure that they know, and I do this maybe a couple, 2 or 3 times a year. They'll like, can we see the guns? I'm like, yeah.
I love that because now
And
they're not afraid of it and they don't think it's a toy.
right,
They
exactly.
understand how to respect the firearm.
Exactly. Well, and I tell them too, I'm like, this is a tool, not a toy. This thing is a tool. It's got stopping power. It's a hole punch. It'll put a hole in something over there. Okay, that's not for fun. All right,
And
but
it's not a video game. There is no
it's
do-over.
Yeah.
that's right. There's no do over. You can't. There's no
And
save
if,
point.
mhm.
There's no reload. Yeah.
And
So
if more people did that, we would have children who are aware of the power of that and
mhm,
how to keep themselves safe as well as others. Yeah.
awesome. Well, I think between what the both of you are saying, I'm going to take this as a compliment that we're on the right track. So good job, Fritz. You're raising your kids right. So the last version of like a non-interview style podcast is like it's more experimental, and I guess I'm seeing more of these out there. Although I can't think of any by name, it probably wouldn't be considered a podcast technically, but things like game shows. Um, there is also on NPR on Saturday mornings, they have a game show called Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. And it's super entertaining. I love listening into this. And I'm thinking something like that could be a podcast. If you combine something like a live cast where you've got, you know, me as the host and this person as the contestant, or these people as the contestants, and then you've got all these other people that are in the background that are listening in, that are enjoying the game show, that could be its own podcast. So I know I didn't ask you guys ahead of time to be ready to answer questions on this, but have you seen podcasts along that line? Have you ever seen something that's like, that's not a podcast, this is a game show. It's the Price is Right on Zoom. Like, have either of you ever seen something like that before?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of the concept before. And there were a couple of people in my past network that was going to give it a try, but I never saw it come to fruition. So I'd love to find one.
Okay. Darn, that means I'm probably gonna have to make one. Roderick, you came off mute. Were you gonna say the same thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard one before.
Okay.
I've never even heard of that format.
Well,
That would separate the podcaster right away.
that would. That
Fritz, you're
would.
having a good day, man.
I'm having a great day. I love when I come away with more ideas than I can actually execute on. And when I get overburdened with like, oh, look at all these fun things. It's like, a fresh blanket of snow. And it's like, oh, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go out there and make all kinds of things. And I just run out there and get the zoomies and just destroy the yard. That's what it's like for me. It's fun stuff. Well, that's what I've got for today is, you know, thinking in terms, I'm all about how to flex and move and sometimes bend and break rules that we seem to have for podcasting. Is like, how do you reuse and I'll say contort the medium into some new and exciting ways to kind of get people to say, oh, that's new and different. And then they come closer and they're like, that was actually really cool. I'm glad I spent the time on that. Are there some other formats that don't quite fit these ones, like, so interview, solo, a panel, a live cast, documentaries, experimental, like game shows, parties, stuff like that? Is there a format that doesn't quite fit that you've run across that you're like, it's kind of a different critter? And if so, can you describe it?
I haven't, but I'll say this. I was looking forward to and also somewhat dreading the podcast tour that I'm about to go on for the book.
Mhm.
After hearing this, it's good to hear that the industry is evolving. And maybe you're at the tip of the spear on this, Fritz, of making changes because it's not a conversation that I'm hearing anywhere else. It's the first time I've even thought about the kind of things that you're bringing up. This is not, hey, let's stroke Fritz Day, but I will say you're talking about some things that I have not heard. I talked to a lot of people, and no one's talking about this. And maybe that's what needs to happen is to do a few of these, get them out on social media, especially on LinkedIn, and maybe other podcasters will go, hey, right now it's you come on to my show or we go on LinkedIn Live or Insta Live or whatever. It's good to be able to show and share. There's other ways to do this. And then also from a heavy podcast guest, it's good to see that there are other ways to go out there and get messaging across and thought leadership and all that without the standard start, stop kind of podcasts that are happening. I'm seeing more and more of those, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Well,
kudos to you, man.
yeah,
Thank you for thinking way outside of the box on this.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. And so, and that's the thing too, is like when I don't know, I have that tendency. I have a tendency to try to figure out ways to get around some of the rules, some of the societal norms, and I just start taking action before I realize, like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. It's like, I'm sorry, I just did it. You should have said something sooner. So, but I've been doing it since I was 2 years old, man. Literally 2 or 3. I don't know. I told you guys that story about when I was in preschool. I remember this. This is the first time that I like deliberately broke the rules, but it was well meaning, but I couldn't explain it because I was like 3 years old. So it was around Halloween, and I was not like a problem child. Like I would get talked to a lot because I don't know, I operated differently, And I guess that's what I get for being a left-hander. I'm in my right brain all the time. I'm always creative. And so it was around Halloween, and they had like cut out pumpkins, like orange construction paper pumpkins. They all had funny faces on them, and they all had numbers on the back. And so they gave half of the class, each kid in this half got two pumpkins, and they would write down the numbers of the pumpkins so that they could track which kid had what pumpkin. And they said, okay, for the other kids in the class, you're going to step out in the hall, and these kids are going to hide these pumpkins, and you're going to find them. They said there's only two rules. You may not hide the pumpkin in this play refrigerator, and you may not hide the pumpkin in this. There's like a cubby, there's like a bench thing that the teacher sits on, and that's just the teacher's seat. The kids can't sit on it, they can't touch it. And there's a cubby underneath, you can't be in there. So in my mind, I thought, okay, these other kids just heard that we weren't supposed to hide them there. So I'm going to hide them there because then they're never going to find them because they're never going to look there. Now I'm 44 years old now. I could have explained this back then if I knew all the words, but they got to the end and they couldn't find, and they said, which ones were left? And they said, number 6 and number 7 or whatever. And they were like, okay, who's that? And they looked, and it's like, it's Mikey. And the teacher immediately went over and looked in the fridge. There it was, right prominently on the middle of the shelf. Let's look under the cubby. There it is right there. And they pulled him out. They were like, we told you not to hide him here. Why did you hide him here? And I said, I don't know. And of course, I got in trouble. It's like, I don't know. I do know because I didn't want them to find him. So they heard, I just explained it to you. I wish I can go back and go find that teacher, but she's probably dead now. Um, but it's like I'm constantly like finding ways to bend and break rules, and it's fun. Some rules are meant to be bent, and some are others meant to be broken, and it's a blast. So that's fun stuff. Now I kind of want to make a game show. I'm gonna have to get into Chat GPT and be like, let's make a game show. Let's make it like whose line is it anyway? And let's make you guys are gonna see some funny stuff coming from me. So any other questions for before I wrap up? I'm gonna hit the stop button to stop the recording for the educational piece. But any other questions before we wrap? Okay. All good. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop and wrap
This
up
is
the
a
education
great
portion.
conversation, man. Thank you.
It's fun. Yeah, anytime, bro. Anytime.